It is. You excited to be back? Are you excited to be back? Dr. E's Open Seminar. We're Open Seminar number 51 today. Finally, 51, which puts us 1 week away from Open Seminar number 52, which is our 1 year anniversary, which means we've been here for a whole year.
Which means I've been here for 6 months.
You've been here for 6 months. I've been here for 1 year and before that and going on. And look, I'm all over the place. I'm omnipotent over here. But the point is, omnipresent even. The point is, Dr. E's Open Seminars. It's education for a new generation. We know what we do every week. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST. And say, education for a new generation. We bring you that expertise you usually have to pay through the nose for to sit in those dry ass lecture theaters with those crusty old white men. But we bring you the education they don't talk about. You know what I'm saying? We bring you that real ish. You know what I'm saying? That idealist education. The education you thought education was going to be before you went to school and realized that ain't what it is. But you come here for that. I'm just saying. But in any case, I'm your boy, Dr. E, as per usual every single week. The Twitter TBT, PhD, philosopher extraordinaire, all those great things like that. That's the great dictator Tanzine. Vote for her in the upcoming dictator elections, obviously.
No pictures, please.
No
pictures.
I thought you were going to sneeze. I thought you were doing that because you were about to bust a sneeze. No, because you kind of like faded your eyes. I thought you were just going, I thought you were about to bust a sneeze out.
No, just being humble. No pictures.
No pictures. No screenshots, please. No screenshots, please. No, please see my manager for the screenshots, please. Okay.
Although my hair is looking fabulous today.
I'll admit, your hair is looking pretty fire. I'll give you that. Your hair is looking pretty fire.
I washed it.
You're looking... Say it like 3-4 days of the week. 5, 6, 9 days of the month. I don't know what it is. You just walk around unwashed. Just don't do nothing. All right.
No, it's true.
Okay, then. I'm just going to leave that alone.
I don't wash my hair all the time.
Fam, I don't have hair. I don't know how often people wash their hair. Do you know how long it's been since I had to worry about washing my hair?
What about that hair on your face? Please tell me you washed that.
It's on my face. What do you think I was doing? Just soaping around my
do you shampoo your beard?
No, fam, I do not shampoo and condition my beard.
Shampoo and condition?
No, fam, I do not. That happened at one time you did it.
Mm-hmm.
That happened at one time you did it. But I ain't done it since. No, I do not do that.
That was fun. We're going to do that again.
In any case, look, the point is, your boy Dr. E, your girl, the great dictator Tanzine. It's Dr. E's Open Seminars. You all know what it is. And this week is another Lessons from Literature week. We've been off for a couple of weeks for technical reasons, health problems, God knows whatever else.
I was sick last week with my period.
Last week with that. And
I wanted to die.
I've just been, keeping myself a little busy. Oh, I'm sorry. What is that? I'm sorry. Have I got something on me? Is there something? I don't know. I'm just saying. Is there a thing? I feel like there's something.
Turn around and show the hoodie and move on. Come on.
Oh, you want to see the levels? You want to see the not for school but for life, fam. You know what I'm saying? You want to see? You got your thing too. Hold up.
But it's not here.
Hold up. Look. Oh, you think I wasn't gonna I'll bring it. I brought that shit. I brought that shit with me. No. This is your thing. Look, that's you with the black.
Mm-hmm. Black and gold.
With the text in the white with the and then on the back with the with the Oh, there she go. Oh.
Why is the text not in gold?
Why woman, the text is in white because we got levels, okay? It's black on
white.
Wait,
what color is the text on yours? Black?
Black. Yeah, the text is black right here.
Okay.
Yeah. The gold is reserved for you.
Do we only have black and white?
We got black and white hoodies, and then you can have you in white, or you can have you in the black hoodie, and you can have this one in white. You can have this one in the black hoodie.
So, in case people are confused, we have men's and women's hoodies now.
I mean, you don't have to say men's and women's hoodies.
But
they can be worn either way.
They're also non-gender conforming, so you can literally buy whichever one you want.
Whichever one. Like I was rocking the one with you on the back a little while ago because the cut is the same, to be fair. So okay. I didn't get it like cut.
Just so everyone knows, he keeps referring to that picture as me. It is not me. It is not me. It's what I wish I looked like, but it is not me.
Listen, fam. I mean, the other dude ain't really me. Nah, it's kind of me though.
No, it is. Someone literally drew you.
That's kind of me though. I don't know what to tell you.
No, it is.
I mean, it's that face, you know what I'm saying? You see that face and you're like, nah, I gotta put on the hoodie though. No, I'm joking. In any case, the point is, so represent, y'all. We'll have the merch page up soon. Ain't done ready yet, but we got advertising coming. We got 1-2 things coming in the pipeline, so I'm working on those.
Where can people buy this?
They can't right now, but they will be able to buy it on the website, on the Building Tutors website. And then after that, we'll put the added. They'll be able to get a link through on Instagram. There'll be a link through on Facebook. There'll be a few other places where you'll be able to get it. So yeah, we're gonna throw this up everywhere. And then, you know, we might do 1-2 little deals. And then there's more coming in the pipeline after that, because obviously there's us and then there's TBT Sounds.
And also we have special pricing. What's the price?
What's the special? Why you say special pricing?
No, because remember we said that the first, like, I think it was like the first 30 people are going to get it for the special price. What's the price?
Yo, you're crazy. You're crazy. All right, okay, so special, we're going $39.80.
$39.80 is the special price.
We're going $39.80.
The first 30 people get it for that price. The next people after that, sorry, it's $45.
It's 45. It says 40. Well, it's 44.80, but it's like it's the regular goes up to the regular normal price of 44.80. But it's $39.80 the first time. So if y'all want to jump in early, get your $39.80 hoodies. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't get educated for school. You know what I'm saying? We do it for life. You know what I'm saying? That's how we do this. We educate for life. This is what this is all about, bro. This is what it's all about.
First 30 people. You want to be part of that first 30?
Listen, the ad is coming. The ad is coming. Everything's coming. That's all coming. In any case, the point is, so you can catch us.
You haven't showed them the back of yours. Turn around.
Oh, the back of my. Yo, I gotta get up and everything. I ain't doing all that.
Get up. Stop being lazy.
Come on, man. Look. Oh man.
Nobody can see that.
That's all I'm giving you. I ain't turning all the way around, homie. That's weird. That's all I'm giving you, man. Come on, man. I'm tired. Look. The point is, we'll wrap up this intro. The point is, it's Dr. E's open seminar. You can catch this. So we got the live seminar every single Monday. What is it? Monday. Every Monday at 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST. And then you catch the edited version every Saturday when that gets uploaded onto YouTube. So do your subscriptions, do your sign-ups. We're on SoundCloud, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Music, iTunes, Twitter, Quora, website, everything, man, everything. So hit the bells, hit the subscriptions, hit the do your things, and y'all catch the edited version on Saturday where you get your cinema escape running on the top. Shout out Missy, who does all of our editing, and of course shout out Karine, who turns up, who might not be here today, but who usually
Missy
turns
and
up
Karine, we love you.
Chat in the background. But all of that said, we do have a lessons from literature things to get to. We got Frantz Fanon to deal with.
Before we start that, Ramadan Mubarak to everybody who's fasting.
I was just about to get there, but
I did it first.
I did it first, but yeah, because somebody is fasting and somebody isn't.
Oh, I'm not fasting.
I
just went back to the gym.
I'm
not trying to mess that up. If you fast, you can't go to the gym. You'd pass out.
Listen, I will say this though. I was watching this thing the other day, and I saw this. I want to say Kuwaiti football team in training at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and came off the training field soaking in sweat, still fasting.
Okay, maybe I should try this.
No, I'm telling you. And they all did this like IG video, and they were doing this like, they were doing like, yeah, man, hard work, man. We do the hard work, and we still fasted. And they were like, went to prayer. And I was like, homie, did you really just work out and go to prayer before you break fast? Like 2-3 hours before you break fast? And like soaked in sweat. Now, I used to work out before I broke fast, but I never worked out like that.
Okay, I'm inspired now, and I'm about to fast tomorrow, inshallah, and also work out.
All right, but take it easy on yourself. Don't go crazy.
You will find me on the sidewalk, face down.
Face down. Nah, facts. Yeah, don't go crazy. Don't go crazy. But listen. Now that you mentioned it, and we're here, we're talking about Ramadan. And yes, I am fasting, which means, yes, I am knackered. So if I fall asleep halfway through the seminar, I don't know what it is, and you have to pick it up from there, greatly, Sayo.
Okay.
But I did just want to... Hey, Karine just turned up.
I mean, if that happens, it will just turn into an eyeshadow tutorial or something.
All right, I got to stay awake. We cannot do this to people. We cannot have like a whole eyeshadow tutorial for a seminar. This ain't going to happen.
I have a lot of eyeshadows that are very pretty, and I know how to put them on correctly. So why not?
So the world needs to be aware of this.
Do you watch YouTube? Do you know that half the people on here, this is all they do?
No.
Makeup tutorials?
No, fam, I don't watch YouTube and find out about the makeup tutorials on there. No, what do you think I'm doing all day long?
You're missing.
Yeah, well, all right, fair enough. I'll accept that. But in any case,
I just went blue.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what's going on with your lighting. You know what it is? It's because I think because the light's streaming in through your window, and now your camera's trying to adjust to how the light is changing over time.
But the window is always open.
I know, but I don't know if it's just a little more
And
light
I don't
today.
turn blue.
Yeah. Maybe it's Allah telling you something about not fasting. Wallahi, it is.
I look like
Kuffar decisions, you know, make you blue. Dabadi dabadai. It is old Quranic verse. Wallahi.
Why does Allah have an Arab accent? That is so creepy.
I've been to Iraq, obviously to perform, but obviously not for, the Iraqis. It's not a very, comedy-filled place. It's not like there's comedy clubs in Iraq. Like, welcome to Saddam's jihad hut. It's not like.
Listen, I wasn't there when Muhammad got the message from Jibreel, but it was in Saudi Arabia. What do you want from me? I wasn't there. I didn't ask the guy.
Imagine you die and all the angels and Allah and everyone is just like an old Arab man. Oh God.
Oh my God. No. We don't need that. We don't need that stress. We don't
Imagine
need that.
they're all just telling you what the Imam told me when we got married. You have, as the wife, you have a duty. You cannot nag all the time. I'm like, what?
Wallahi, Ameen. Allah. Listen, this is preaching now. This is you turning this into kind of like a religious stage. I didn't say this. The Imam said it, and I feel like, as Muslims, we have a duty to observe what the Imam was saying.
And then the next day, when you were somewhere and I went to my grandmother's house and everybody was there, my mom, my dad, everyone, I was leaving to go back to where we were staying and they were like, take food for him. And I was like, I'm sure he's eaten. And my dad had the nerve to be like, the Imam talked to you yesterday about what your responsibilities are. I was like,
wait, your dad actually said that to you?
I'm gonna smack you. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. And what you're telling me is, and
have you met
still
my
came
dad?
home?
Is it that crazy?
No, it's not. And you still came home without a sandwich? Like nothing? Like, I'm just saying.
I especially came home without anything because of that.
Wallahi, ladies and gentlemen, my wife. This is my wife. I love her very much. She is a strong woman. Keep you awake. Yes, very good. No, but listen, while we're here and while we're doing weird Arab accents and whatever else, and we're talking about Ramadan, I figured we just take 2 minutes just before we get into the seminar and we talk about Fanon and we get into this chapter on language, because I've been dying for us to have this conversation. But before we get to that, I just wanted to spend just 2 minutes just talking about the benefits of this, like why we're doing this in the first place. Because I got a bunch of students, friends and students to be fair, who all ask me the same thing. Like, they don't want to be offensive, so they're like, listen, I understand it's a religious observation and I understand you do it for kind of some kind of spiritual dedication, but what's the benefit of it? Like, why? What's the good in what you're doing besides the whole spiritual commitment thing? I got my own ish, but yeah.
I don't think it's just about a spiritual commitment, though. I think the most important thing about Ramadan is that it equalizes you.
Tell me more.
When you don't eat, this is actually something my dad said to me, surprisingly, when I was a kid. It's like my dad has glimmers of like progressive thinking. Randomly,
it is the Islam in
and
your
then
father's
it's gone.
mind. Yes.
Yeah. No, but I remember when I was little, I started fasting when I was 7.
Yeah. Whoa, and when you were 7?
Half a day. You start half a day and then you go up. Yeah. I started when I was 7, and I remember asking my dad, why do we do this? And he was like, because it equalizes everyone, because it reminds you that no matter where you're from, what color your skin is, man or woman, rich or poor, if you don't eat, you get hungry, because everyone is a human being. If you don't drink water, or if you don't drink anything, you get thirsty, because everyone is a human being. So really, you're not better than anyone. You're all the same. And this is the one and only reason that when I do fast, is the one only reason I do it, because I think that that's a good lesson to always keep in your head, and a good reminder that
I think so.
You're a human being like everybody else, regardless of anything, regardless of all of the identities and experiences and whatever thing we like to say that we are and whatever we like to walk around with. You're just a sack of meat
that needs food and water.
that needs food and water and
Like
sunlight. You're
anything
basically
else.
a meat plant. That's all you are.
Basically,
All
you're
of
a meat
us.
tree. You're a meat tree,
you're
man.
a meat tree.
Listen, somebody
And,
always.
and I really like to be reminded of the fact that you're not special. Like nobody is special.
Yes, preach.
Just get over it.
Preach.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel like we're like really old people now, because the last time I said this to somebody, I think we had this conversation previously, but the last time I said this to somebody was over drinks with a friend of mine, and then some of his friends turned up, and some of them were like, young people, we like 21, 20, whatever. To me, that's a kid to me. I'm saying they're young people. Cool. And they there, whatever else, and they're talking about how, like, what they're trying to achieve in life and what they're trying to do. And I mean, it's cool. I'm saying I'm supporting. Go do your thing. That's a good thing. You should go and do that. That's great. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love to hear it. But then one of them starts talking about how, like, because I'm special, and I just want to express what makes me special.
Okay, meat tree.
Yeah, facts. And at that point, I was like, all right, don't get carried away with yourself. You ain't special. And then she was like, no, I'm really special, because, like, if God didn't make me to be unique and special, then what he make me for? I bet. No, cool. But no, okay, cool. But cool.
But the thing is, most people, I think this way. They think that they're special and unique. I have a friend who thinks everything she does, she will pick the most basic thing and think it makes her super unique and special, and she's just better than everybody. And I'm tired. I'm just like, stop talking to me already.
And there's a group of people who are gonna be listening to this and be going, oh, you're hating right now, because, like, you're supposed to kind of boost people up whenever they do anything or whatever. It's like, listen, I get it. Like, I understand the logic behind that, but that logic applies only insofar as you're talking about an already insecure or damaged mind. So yes, you need a confidence boost. Yes, you need a little bit of, like, a leg up. You need somebody to give you a little bit of attention and a little mollycoddling occasionally, because maybe things have been rough for you. Maybe things ain't work out for you.
But the thing is, I don't think there's anything wrong with praising someone.
Yeah,
you could tell someone, you've done a great job, this is really good, but that doesn't make you special. It means you did one thing good.
Yeah, facts. That's my thing. So it's not like that's my point in any case. Like, we're not talking about praising them to the point of acknowledging their specialness, but that's what bugged me about it. And I was like, all right, look, but even if we accept that the God, Allah, whatever you want, made you uniquely special, that logic has got to apply to the remaining 7.1 billion human beings on planet Earth.
So
right?
If everyone is uniquely special, then nobody is special.
And then no. The best part about it is that has to apply to the remaining 7.1 billion human beings on Earth right now. But it has to apply to all of the human beings that just died, all of the human beings that have died in the past, all of the human beings to be born and will die, whatever. Yeah, this has to apply across the board. Like, anywhere you look, this has to be everybody's uniquely special. Yeah, that's stupid.
I do think, though, that this is a very American, it's particularly an American trait. Everyone in America wants to believe that they're special.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is, I didn't realize it until because I think I had a lot of this too. And I remember I went to London and we were hanging out with your friends, with Craig and Chantel, and I made a comment. I said something, I forgot what it was, and Chantel looked at me and she goes, so is everybody else. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so is everybody else. Oh shit.
Hit you with that London stuff. Yeah.
No, but the thing is, like, it is a very American thing where it's like, I'm special, I'm unique, oh my God, look at me, identity.
Yeah, we don't really do that. I mean, it's happening more and more over here, but
I see it happening over there.
It's happening, but historically, like, so the time that me and Chantel and Craig grew up, yo, shout out Chantel and Craig, we love you, man.
Yeah, we love
you. Yes, Craig, yes. Don't worry, he knows. Yes, Craig. But the point is, no. Yeah, man. The point is...
All right, you are just coming off like a crazy old man right now.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay, because I'm an old man. But the point is that in like, I don't remember in my generation that being such a big deal, and I remember it distinctly being something that you were kind of made fun of for. Like, the idea that you want to kind of, like, you think you're special, you think you're something, whatever else. You're being extra. Fam. It was called being extra, bro. Like, we didn't like you being extra.
No, but the thing is, here, I feel like growing up, like, I remember as a kid, even being like, wow, I'm really interested in myself and my identity. Like, I remember actually thinking that. And I remember, like, so much of what you you were always bombarded with this idea of yourself and your identity and who you are and what makes you unique and blah blah blah. And like, I just remember like programs in high school, going to things, and everything was just about my identity. Let's do an identity tree. Let's do what is it about you that makes you unique? And the thing is, like, it comes from this place of like wanting to uplift everybody, I think, but really all it does is swell everybody's head to the point where it's really unbearable.
Yes.
It's really unbearable. Like, once you are aware of it, you start seeing it in everyone around you. Like, there was a point when I wasn't aware of it, and I was the same kind of unbearable egomaniac.
Yeah.
But then the more I became conscious of my own egomania, and then now I'm seeing everybody's, and I'm like, oh my God, get away from me. Yeah. Like, I literally feel like I hate everybody, and I just want I don't even like my friends anymore. I'm just like, go away, go away, go away. You're all so annoying. Because
y'all heard it here first.
The same thing back to each other. But I think this is rooted also, it's this American thing, but it's also very much rooted in Western civilization and
I agree.
The Western concept of like the self, the fact that the self is real or whatever.
We're gonna go back to our point because we way too long of a digression, but on religion and race and identity and whatever else. But I was watching this interview the other day with this Buddhist monk that I quite like. He's a really cool dude. But in any case, at one point, the interviewer asked him about the purpose of her life. And his immediate response was, it's a very Christian question, that. It's a very, very Christian. Because that's the idea. What do you mean purpose? What made you think your life had a purpose? Like, I don't know, which of you, because your particular life had to have a purpose. Bro, come on, man. If life had a purpose, it was going to have a purpose for everything. And if it did have a purpose for everything, it wasn't going to make any sense to anybody. Because that's everything. Everything would have to have a purpose. You can't, this is silly. This is a really, really weird way of discussing this, but never mind. The point is, today's seminar, today, it is another Lessons from Literature. And we are continuing our series on your boy, Frantz Fanon. I love the nails with the book. It all works, man. It all works.
Right?
Yeah. No, it works. Yo, hold up. Just hold that hand up to the camera a little more. I just want to see something. Glez, you got this. You blinded me a little. No, you blinded me.
This ring that somebody who's obsessed with me bought me.
But you blinded me with all the the blinging. Like
for everybody who does not know, so when we got married, I immediately was like, I don't want rings because I'm a difficult person. He didn't care. Our mothers went absolutely batshit crazy when I said I didn't want rings. We didn't want rings.
Yep.
And made us get rings.
Yep.
But the way that I sort of compromised was I said, fine, we'll get rings, but we're wearing them on this finger, not this finger. So then our moms got the ring. So my mom got him his ring and his mom got me my ring.
Yes.
For some reason, this ring that I was given, the lady in the store messed it up because she told them that the ring size that I had was a child size.
Yeah, she didn't believe that was your real finger. Yeah.
She didn't believe that could be an adult finger. I have small fingers.
Yeah.
And so then she convinced his mom to get a bigger size. So she got the bigger size and it doesn't fit this finger. So I ended up wearing it on this finger for years. And then Ithar was like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to get you a ring that you want that fits the correct finger. So I think 3 years ago, I picked this ring.
Well, you picked something like that ring.
Yeah, something like this. But I picked this particular stone because it's pink and it's pretty and I wanted it with black. So it's a pink tourmaline stone with black diamonds around it. And it's white gold plated in black polish or whatever. The interesting thing about this stone that I didn't know was that I looked it up recently right before I got the ring, and it said this pink tourmaline is a stone that is associated with the heart chakra, and it's about increasing your compassion for others. Well, so when I heard that, I was like, okay, I need to get this ring, definitely then. This stone, definitely. Because I need to do those things.
All right. You're hilarious. In any case,
I, for the past 2 weeks, have been hating everybody. So I really need this.
See this. Yeah, no, I can see this. This is your Power Ranger ring. Like, you just kind of like, whatever. All right, look. But.
Oh my God, it's like Mati, remember from Captain Planet? Heart.
Captain Planet.
Well, Planeteers, what seems to be the problem?
They're cutting down the trees.
Then I guess we'll have to plant some more.
Captain Planet, stop right now!
My heart. It hurts.
I can't believe I still remember that. Yeah, I learned English to that cartoon. Listen,
Oh my god, that's so funny.
No, I really
Why does
did.
every foreigner tell me that they learned English to a cartoon? My little cousin did this.
I don't know what to
He
tell
used to
you.
watch cartoons, and that's how he learned English. So he would say the most outrageous cartoony things in English, and that was all he knew for a very long time.
That works. That works. All right, but look, in any case, look at you teasing me because you can drink. The point is,
Sorry.
no, I'm playing with you. So we're back to a lessons from literature seminar. Back to Frantz Fanon, book that you were showing off. And we're back to, we did the introduction to the book a couple of weeks, 4 weeks ago now, maybe more than that now, but we're back to chapter 1 this week. Chapter 1 is the Black Man and Language, right?
It's called the Negro in language. Let's call it correctly. This is what he calls it.
All right. You want put yourself out there for that? Go for it. Well, this is part of what we're gonna get to, right? This is part of what we were gonna discuss. It was part of what we were gonna get to with respect to this. But before we even get into it, right? Before we even kind of break down what we think all the chapters about, or what we think he's saying, or yada 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 yada, I've got a quote. I want to start with a quote this time. Like I want to start off with a quote because I think there's a particular quote that I really really like from this book, and that really means a lot. Well, it expresses part of the reason why this book ended up meaning so much to me in any case, as well as like what I think the ideas are in here. But the point is, so he says, so this is on page 17 of this particular copy, but in any case, it's chapter 1 of Black Skins, White Masks, the Negro in Language. And he says, when a Bachelor of Philosophy from the Antilles refuses to apply for certification as a teacher on the grounds of his color, I say that philosophy has never saved anyone. When someone else strives and strains to prove to me that black men are as intelligent as white men, I say that intelligence has never saved anyone. And that is true. For if philosophy and intelligence are invoked to proclaim the equality of men, they have also been employed to justify the extermination of men. That passage, to me, sums up the whole, everything he's trying to do in this chapter. Everything he's trying to get across in this chapter is in that really tiny passage. So for me, without jumping ahead too far, I'm going to ask you for you to tell me what you think in a second, but just to start us off, he's speaking to the the power of language, its ability to, on the one hand, save you, as well as its ability to exterminate whole groups of people. So the power of language in one respect, and then in another respect, the nuances of language, right? The variations in language that reveal things about our relationships to power. So the fact that as a brown man or a black man or what have you, that you can feel further or closer to power depending on the way you speak. We'll get into that in a second. But that to me is the kind of like essence of what he's getting at. So it's the relationship between language, power, and race. And to me, as a teacher, as a student, as an academic, as a professor, as a whatever, as all those other things, you know what I'm saying? As a PhD, always like, you know what I'm saying? Yo, mad titles, bro. I could just throw these around all day long. But the point is, as one of those, academically speaking, I'm very familiar with everything he's talking about. Both like as a teacher, as well as a student. So in my time as a student, dealing with these issues with respect to language, as well as being a teacher. But before I go off on one, tell me what you think. Like, give me your rundown on not maybe the whole chapter, but particularly with respect
quote,
to kind of.
Can you read that quote one more time? Because I can't find it in here.
I mean, I can read it, but I ain't going to.
Do it.
I don't know why I'm helping you.
Do it.
It's all right. So it's page.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I found it.
Right.
When a Bachelor of Philosophy from the Antilles refuses to apply for certification as a teacher on the ground of his color, I say that philosophy has never saved anyone. When someone else strives and strains to prove to me that black men are as intelligent as white men, I say that intelligence has never saved anyone. And that is true, for if philosophy and intelligence are invoked to proclaim the equality of men, they have also been employed to justify the extermination of men. So when I read that, what I read is, I just keep being like, why are you putting so much into philosophy and intelligence? Like, these are not the things that make you human or equalize you, because I feel like this is what it's saying.
Wait, what did you just hear?
Maybe my American brain messed something up. Okay.
What did you hear?
So, the first part. When a Bachelor of Philosophy from the Antilles refuses to apply for certification as a teacher on the ground of his color, I say that philosophy has never saved anyone.
Facts.
So, okay, that first part.
Sure.
So, if this teacher from the Antilles is saying, I'm not going to apply for certification as a teacher because I'm black, and black people somehow cannot be teachers or are not good enough to be teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what he's saying is, or philosophy teachers or whatever, I feel like what he's saying is, but this thing, like, why are you measuring yourself against this thing?
We're not measuring ourselves against this thing. What he's saying is that even if I were the height of education and the height of academia, if you're a PhD in philosophy, it means you're a freaking genius.
I don't think a PhD makes anyone a genius.
No. I'm not saying it literally means that. What I'm saying is, academically speaking, it's considered the height of education. It's the height.
You're
of
like
academia.
an expert. Yeah.
Yeah, you're an expert of experts. If I get a doctorate in any field, I'm a doctor of philosophy in science, or I'm a doctor of philosophy in maths, or I'm a doctor of philosophy. That's what PhD means.
Yeah, I know.
Right. So if I'm a doctor of philosophy in philosophy, I'm the expert of the experts.
Okay.
So what he's saying is he's using that as a measure. And what we're saying here is, even if I were at the peak of academia, if I happen to be a doctor of philosophy, but I just so happen to be black, I would be reticent about applying for a position as a teacher because I'm black. I'm less likely to get that position because, like, regardless of my educational capacity, even if I was at the peak of academia, regardless of that, my blackness is what's holding me back.
Right.
Fam. And in that respect, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you can speak to it, but that's my life. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Like, I am a teacher.
That's not how I read any of this. Okay. Yeah.
Right. And then he goes, and then the second half of that. So wait. So what do you think of the second half then?
When someone else strives and strains to prove to me that black men are as intelligent as white men, I say that intelligence has never saved anyone, and that is true. For if philosophy and intelligence are invoked to proclaim the equality of men, they have also been employed to justify the extermination of men. I mean, the last part is true.
And it's an extension of the first. Do you see what I'm saying?
How is it an extension of the first?
Because the first is a local example, and the second is a general example. So in the first case, we're talking about a very specific example of a kind of intelligence. So you're talking about a doctor of philosophy trying to become a teacher, and how, practically speaking, that becomes problematic by virtue of his race. And then in the larger, more general example, we're talking about just intelligence, and that the argument being broadly made that black men and white men are as intelligent as one another. And what he's saying is that, okay, but whether that were true or whether that were not true, you're still treating them a certain way. That is to say, even if you were to declare that all black men and white men were equally as intelligent as one another, this black man still feels reticent about going to get a job as a teacher, despite his academic expertise. Because being black and being white, just by virtue of what you've done to these things, has made the experience not the same. Would you created these categories and done this, so the experience just isn't going to be the same. So no, intelligence has never saved anyone, and philosophy has never saved anyone either.
Okay. I was not reading it that way, but yeah.
I would love to know what you were reading, fam.
I don't know. When I read it, I was just like, why are you comparing? Why are you... Okay, I kept thinking about it in terms of who is seen as human and who is not.
Okay.
Diminish blackness as being less than human. Like, black people are less than human within a system of white supremacy.
Sure.
And so I was looking at it through that lens, and I was saying, I was adding words that didn't exist here, basically, which is what I do a lot when I read stuff. But sure. I was reading it as if to say that, being a teacher, having the capacity to be a teacher of philosophy, or, being as intelligent as a white man is what humanizes, like this argument that, like, this is an argument for, like, why black people are just as human as white people. But
right.
My whole thing was, but why are we basing humanity on these things? You're human because you're human.
No, facts. And to some extent,
you see, I was adding a lot of things to it that didn't exist.
You were a bit, or at least to that particular quote. All right, to that particular quote you were, but it's in the chapter. So, all right, so we can get into this in a sec. Well, maybe we get into this now because what he's speaking to, and he says it at the outset. So on the right at the beginning of the chapter, right? So page 8, right at the very, very beginning of the chapter, his opening words. In fact, you read it. The opening words at the very beginning of the chapter.
Oh. The first paragraph?
No. The second paragraph. Second paragraph, first sentence.
The black man has 2 dimensions. That one.
Yeah.
Okay. The black man has 2 dimensions, one with his fellows, the other with the white man. A Negro behaves differently with a white man and with and with another Negro. That this self-division is a direct result of colonialist subjugation is beyond question. No one would dream of doubting that its major artery is fed from the heart of these various theories that have tried to prove that the Negro is a stage in the slow evolution of monkey into man. Here is objective evidence that expresses reality.
So, the idea is, right, in this opening paragraph, in this opening chapter, what he wants to address is exactly the point that you kind of raised there. So the point that you intuitively kind of like seeing in the quote that I raised that we mentioned earlier on is what he ends up bringing up here, which is to say that because of the nature of the subjugation of race and oppression and all of those things over the course of 500-600 years of having to deal with all of this, there's a consequence. It has a tangible, palpable effect on what you say, how you say it, and to whom you say it. Like your speech adjusts dependent on the racial dynamics and the power dynamics with whom you're speaking. Now, in an everyday setting, this is pretty much obvious.
Like think about like when you talk to when you're on a job interview or you're like talking to a white person, you put on a white voice.
You put on white voice, right? So look, when you're talking to, we're gonna have to explain what these terms mean in a second because a whole bunch of people are gonna go, "Where's white voice?" But for example,
your white voice is this. Thank you so much for this opportunity. For this interview.
Okay, why is everybody who's white from like California?
That's just what I think of.
Okay.
Sorry, that's just how it comes out when I do it. I just try to be really, really proper and pronounce everything.
Well, it's
and
that.
I am so excited at the prospect of working here.
It is actually that. I mean, you're doing it because you're an American, so you're doing it. It becomes California for some reason. But her name is Tiffany. Whoever that was Tiffany.
Tiffany, that's Tiffany, yeah.
That was Tiffany, and her best friend is Crystal, obviously, and they go out to the mall every weekend.
I feel like Tiffany, though, is kind of a white trash name, and that was more like Sarah.
Oh, that might have been Sarah.
That was Sarah.
Oh my God, that was Sarah. But all right, look, the point is, what you're speaking to there is kind of the point, right? So what you're saying is in as an American, what you're doing is toning up the way you speak, right? So you're making sure you hit every single letter. You're making sure you pronounce everything exactly the way it's supposed to be pronounced. You're making sure you enunciate.
Oh my God, I have an aunt that does this on the phone, and my whole family, my dad used to always make fun of her, and he would be like, he would say, she's shooting a target. It would be like so precise. He'd be like, it's target practice. She's shooting a gun.
Trying to get every word. But I know that's what it is. And it's the same thing over here. Like, so when you want to sound, when you're talking to a superior over here, particularly if you're, I can't speak for black people, but as a brown person, if you talk to a superior as a brown man, there's a tendency to want to speak in a way that's amenable to them.
Everybody does that.
But
everybody who's not white does that.
That's my point. Not everybody does that. But that's exactly my point. That's precisely the idea. It's not everybody that does that. It's a particular group that does that, and that's exactly.
But I'm sure that poor white people. You don't think poor white people do that?
No.
No, I don't. So you think the British guy that talks like this?
I think he says, "All right, mate."
Really?
I think, all right, geezer, listen. All right, geezer. Gaze. Let me explain this to you real simple. Me and mate Dave, right, we'll talk about Keith. And Keith is a bit of a knobhead. What do you think, Gaze? I think that there's pub talk, right? And I think that they're conscious of the distinction between pub talk and, say, business talk. Or if I'm talking to a politician, the way I talk to a politician versus the way I talk to somebody in the pub. I think they're conscious of that distinction. But I think that the thing that Fanon is speaking to here is that if you happen to have been born and raised in a country where your particular appearance, your melanin content is lauded as the norm, as the standard, as the measure by which everybody else is judged.
Well, it's not just your melanin. Can we just just talk about this for a second? Because race is not melanin alone. Race is also class embodied in a very particular way. It's how you dress, it's how you were raised, it's how you speak. It's like all these things, you know? Like I don't think in America, like a poor white person from like a trailer park doesn't change how they talk. Like I can't imagine that they don't change how they speak when they're going for a job interview. Come on.
No, but that's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah.
You gotta let me finish the point. What I'm saying to you is that even though it's the case that they will be conscious of the distinction between the way you speak in the bar or the way you speak with your homies or the way you speak with whatever else versus the way you speak at a job interview, even though you're conscious of that distinction, and you may adjust it to one degree or another. And I'm not speaking for Americans, I'm not speaking for British, for the experience of the British. Even though you may be conscious of that distinction, as somebody who's part and parcel of, or part of, let's just say, the group that's generally thought of as the standard or the objective or the norm or whatever, as part of that group, you're afforded a larger margin of error. So, for example, if you happen to be a bloke, I'll give you a classic example. That's a perfect example for me. Dude, you know Russell Brand?
Yeah.
Russell Brand. To me, the way I don't want to diss him now because he's changed a lot and he's done a few things in the course of his life, but his whole shtick was the way he spoke, the way he dressed, the way he sold himself, his whole kind of like laughy, jokey kind of everything's I don't know, nothing serious kind of attitude, and his openness and willingness to speak in a really, really colloquial fashion. Now, when he does that, it's seen as charming. It's funny. It's ha ha ha. But let that be hood talk from a black or a brown kid. That's not ha 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 anymore. The closest thing you get is Ali freaking G. And even
That's
then, it has
caricature.
Exactly, it has to be satirized before it's acceptable. Like you have to make it a joke of itself before it becomes an acceptable thing. So if you're white, or that is to say, if you fit within the definitions of what's considered the standard norm, in this case whiteness, if you fit within that, you're afforded a slightly larger margin of error where what you're doing or your colloquialisms or your inability to speak in the formal fashion can be treated as charming. That Boris Johnson's whole thing is that he comes off as his hair is all messed up, he never does his tie up, he dresses like a bum,
yeah.
He acts like an idiot, and the whole country fell for the charming bit. They were like, oh, he's so charming, he's not like your regular politician.
I don't see where the charm is. It's scary.
No, you know what? In fact, this also applies to the United States because it's the same thing with Barack Obama versus Donald Trump. Donald Trump can say all kinds of wild stuff, and it's just barbershop, it's barroom talk, or it's
everyone loves
room
it
talk.
because, oh my God, he's so real. He's not like a politician.
But if Barack Obama wears a tan suit or forgets to salute someone before he boards Air Force One, the whole world loses their mind.
Yeah.
But this is my point. But it's a standard that we've been aware of this for a long time. That if you're black or you're brown, you have to work to a standard that's just not the same if you're white. And it's not anybody's particular fault. Like it's this idea where people don't understand what white privilege means. It's not that it means that you get benefits.
It's not the individual person's fault. There's no point in fault and guilting people.
Yeah, it's not
I was having
fault.
this conversation with a friend yesterday. Like, I think a lot of people don't understand how systems operate.
That's what I'm saying.
Systemic shit is not the fault of every individual white person
Facts.
you see.
Facts.
They don't have control over what privileges society gives them.
Facts.
This is just the system that exists. Like, trying to make them feel guilty about it is useless.
It's stupid. It's just
what does
stupid.
that do? Okay, you made a white person feel real guilty, and now what? Everything is still the same.
Nothing changed. Their attitude, and now their attitude towards anybody that isn't white is going to be even more awkward and traumatized. They don't know what the hell to do now. You haven't helped.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think
dumb.
that's really what's happening here in the United States, to be honest with you. I think that there's all these white people who, like white liberals, who feel really guilty all the time and then try to go out of their way to, like, I don't know, alleviate that guilt somehow, instead of just being like, this shit is wrong. This is just wrong. Like, all of this is wrong. The system is wrong. Like, because when you personalize it, this is what happens.
No, I agree with you. So what I think we're speaking, what Fanon is speaking to in this particular chapter with respect to language and the issue of race, what he's saying is that on the one hand, it manifests itself in such a way that you actually use language one way when you're speaking to your homies, and then you use language a completely different. I swear there's a Joe Budden song like this.
Code switching. There's a term for it. It's called code switching.
Exactly. Hey, look at us. Look, I thought of a Joe Budden song. You thought it was called code switching. It's such a leftist, right? The point is, you use language one way to speak to one particular group, you use language a different way to speak to another particular group, and you feel like you have an obligation to do so because the way you appear or the way your access to the society is being determined in part by the way you express yourself. Why? Because the way you express yourself is a symbol of your particular ideological distinction or your particular ideological persuasion, I should say, right? So like there's a very famous, or is by now very, very famous radio interview with a dude with I've talked about it before, James O'Brien on LBC, and he gets a phone call from a dude called Philip, and Philip is from a place called Sandbach. And
oh my God, I remember.
You remember Philip from Sandbach?
I remember the Philip from Sandbach.
Philip is in Sandbach in Cheshire. Philip, is that what happened yesterday?
Hello. Actually, I think you're distorting the whole issue of Brexit.
Philip from Sandbach. And Philip from Sandbach says he happens to be an East African Indian. But Philip from Sandbach lives in what he calls a 98% white village, Sandbach, and he says some of us have chosen to assimilate. He says I'm an assimilationist. Some of us have chosen to assimilate.
As he contorts his face in all kinds of ways to make the words come out of his mouth the way that they do. It was, oh my God, that accent.
Immigration is the greatest threat that's faced us.
Yes.
Since the Second World War.
It is.
Mass immigration.
Absolutely.
Mass immigration leads to third world ghettos.
It does. Yes.
And that's creating the enemy within.
Right, you are.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why we voted to leave.
It is. Yes.
It was a clear
ghettos and the enemy within. Yes.
He talks like that. Yes. His teeth are all out. Yes, and I think the immigrants.
Oh my God.
I'm like, bro, what is wrong with your mouth, bro? The immigrants are making cesspits. Yes.
Oh yeah, he called them cesspools. Immigrant cesspools.
Cesspits of third world ghettos. Yes, third world ghettos and cesspits.
My neighborhood, fortunately, hasn't yet been affected.
No.
But around the southeast,
yes,
what you have essentially are cesspits.
The guy is like twisted in the head. But what I'm saying to you is, he has to. It's exactly what you were saying. He feels as though, and he ran for UKIP. He was a member and ran for UKIP in his local village. He was a politician and everything.
UKIP is the right-wing
UK
party.
Independence Party.
Yeah.
It's what preceded the Brexit movement. So before we had Brexit, we had UKIP, and that was Nigel Farage too. Right. Nigel Farage was UKIP, and then it went to the Brexit Party, and then we had all this chaos. But the point is that Philip from Sandbach ends up being a perfect example of precisely what Fanon is talking about here. You want to see another example? What's her name? In our government right now, Preeti Patel.
I hate her.
Who I guarantee you doesn't talk like that with her mother.
Oh, of course not.
She does not contort her mouth like that.
I feel like America has their own versions of this. Ben Carson.
Oh, I don't know how Ben Carson would talk otherwise, because Ben Carson sounds like he's asleep all the time.
Carson. What's the other one? Nikki Haley. Do you know Nikki Haley?
Nikki Haley
is an Indian woman. Her family is Sikh. Her father wears a turban.
Nikki Haley.
He wears a turban. And her name is not Nikki. I'll tell you that much. She married a white guy, took his last name, and then made her name is like Nimrata or something. Super Sikh. And she turned it into Nikki. Or who's the other one? The Louisiana governor that painted himself.
Oh, that painted himself white?
Like 7 shades lighter in his painting in his office.
Yeah, the guy who made himself white.
Yeah.
Was that Dinesh? It's not Dinesh. No. Dinesh D'Souza is the other guy.
I don't remember this guy's name.
Dinesh D'Souza is like your Philip from Sandbach. That Dinesh D'Souza is psychopathic, but that's your Philip from Sandbach. And then I know who you mean. I know exactly who you mean. Who had what was his name? Jimmy something.
Bobby Jindal. Didn't he convert to Christianity? He was like a Hindu or something. And I'm pretty sure he converted to Christianity.
I'm relatively sure he did. I don't know, but Bobby Jindal.
Why is it always the South Asians that want to?
Fam, why? British colonialism that ran deep. Yeah. It was there for a long time, and it ran deep. there for a long, long time. But this is exactly what Fanon's talking about. It's the quote that you read right at the beginning. The fact that this is due to the history of colonial subjugation is beyond question. It's not up for debate. We know that that's why this is happening. We know that that's why people do this. We know that that's what that is. But the point I wanted to raise, in particular with respect to race and language, with respect to what it is that we're doing, is the way that plays itself out in academia. So before we get into your experiences, because I do want to hear about that in a second, I just so you know how wild this is, right? Just so you know how crazy, like insane racism is in institutions, in universities. And I've spoken about it before, and people look at me like I'm crazy. But all I had to do, just type in racial prejudice UK education into Google and see the millions of articles that come up, just one after the other, after the other, after the other. We're just laying up statistics. But let me just give you some facts here. Apparently, according to a YMCA report done in it was published in any case on the 18th of November 2020 by Reuters, the report finds, check this out, this is unbelievable. I didn't know it was that deep. The report finds that in 2020, 95% of young Black British people have witnessed racist language in education. More than half of the males say they hear racist language in the school, quote, all the time. Teacher perceptions are seen as the biggest barrier to educational success. 2/3 say they don't trust the police to act fairly towards them. Tackling structural racism requires a collaborative society-wide effort, they say. What else is there? The research found what was that? Meanwhile, nearly half, 49%, feel that racism is the largest hurdle to academic attainment, and 50% say that their teachers' perceptions, as I say, are the biggest barriers to their ability to succeed in education. And if what we're saying is that they feel like they're being judged that way, they're feeling they're being assessed that way, and they feel like they're being looked at in a racist way, then I have this extra burden on me to act a way or to behave in a way that makes more sense for you than it does for me.
Yeah.
It's the thing that Kafka talks about this, and we've spoken about this, I think, in the past. But Kafka mentioned this, right? So Kafka is a Jewish man, in the early 1900s in Europe, in Austria, and he says that to describing being Jewish in anti-Semitic Austria in the early 20th century, what he says is that in order to survive in this society, it's like being a fly stuck on with half your body stuck on flypaper, so that every forward progression tears your body in half. Like, because there's part of me that's stuck.
You lose
part
yourself.
Part of me is stuck. That cultural thing, like where I come from, the fact that I fast in Ramadan, the fact that I say Ramadan, not Ramadan, the fact that like all that kind of stuff, like there's a cultural thing that's built into me. There's very little I could do about that. Like, it's just, where my parents came from, the language we speak, the background we grew up with, the food we eat, it's kind of built in. I can't undo that. But in order to make progress in this particular society, as we were talking about a few weeks ago, I have to appear a little bit whiter. So, for example, the criticism was that our seminars are too much about race. So we got to make our seminars a little more white friendly. Or
we're not going to do that.
My website comes off a little bit too street, whatever the hell that means. So I got to make it a little more professional, white friendly. But that's what ends up happening. And for a Black or a brown child, male or female, in a school or a university or in the educational systems, I'm sure in the United States, but also in the United Kingdom, there's this overwhelming perception of the racial prejudice that exists that keeps me from being able to achieve what I want, because there's a prerequisite that no one explicitly states, that I have to behave according to that standard.
Right.
Wow, and all the while I'm doing that, I've got to swallow the fact that you're criticizing me for whatever you think of as the black standard. But by the same token, and Fanon talks about this, if I try to talk to my friends the way you want me to talk to my teacher, they're gonna beat me up.
Yep.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. You can't talk to your friends like that. So it creates this kind of like weird split in your mind in terms of who you are, your personality. You become self-conscious by definition. Like, just by virtue of the way the language is employed. You see what I'm saying? It's not even deep. Like, you haven't had like a traumatic episode. Nothing's happened in your life. It's not even though you've had like an explicitly horrifying racist experience. By virtue of the use of the language and the way it's employed in your academic environment, you already develop this split psychology.
Well, you feel, I think like part of it is that you feel inferior all the time.
Right.
It creates this inferiority complex that you just carry with you all the time. Like, right. I remember going to grad school. I didn't talk in class the first semester because I was scared to speak, because I was like, there's a lot. I literally was, I shared this at the end of the class because we were talking about, our experiences, whatever. And I was like, I was scared to speak because like, there's a lot of white people here.
Yeah.
I used to be gripped with fear.
Yeah.
At speaking and saying something, because I would be like, oh my God, these people are going to think I'm stupid. Like what I'm going to say is going to be stupid.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
And
I think this is something like a lot of undergrads feel, you know,
100%.
I see it with a lot of my students, like they're afraid to speak because, and it's not even like, okay, it's not even, we don't even have white people in the classes I teach. Like, it's not even that. It's just academia is an institution that's rooted in the mainstream, the status quo, in whiteness, in white supremacy.
It maintains the status quo.
Right. And so even if you are in a classroom with all Black and brown people, it's still scary because because of the way that you think about or are taught to think about these institutions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And in some particular cases, not even it doesn't even have to be like your imagination about what these institutions mean. You know exactly what the history of these institutions are. You know where they came from. You know who funded them. You know where they were built, and you know what they used to get into.
And they weren't created. And the reality is, the way academia is set up, it wasn't created for anybody except rich white men, and that's just the truth. And so they still very much cater to those like people who come from wealth, people who you know went to fancy schools and got a fancy education their entire lives and were prepared for this.
Right.
Which is not the case for most of us. And it's also, I want to say, it's also not the case for poor white people, because I have a good friend of mine who's actually she's white, right? Like she's Eastern European.
Right.
Her family are immigrants. Like they struggled when they came here. They were very poor, and we were talking the other day, and she's like, we need to write a piece about class privilege in academia and how that is real, you know?
Yeah, facts.
And obviously, because race and class are so intertwined, it is usually the students of color who are, you know, come from, you know, a more working class or poor background, but not always, not in every instance. Like there are, and I have seen this, there are, you know, some students of color who are very wealthy, who come from wealthy families, particularly like I saw this in my program, and they fly through these programs, not because they're special, but because you're rich. You went to fancy schools your whole life. Your parents have these degrees and they can support you in that. You have support that the rest of us don't, you know? When you have parents who have done PhDs or who have done higher education degrees, which when you don't have anybody, I remember when I was going to grad school, I had no one to ask. Oh my God, I freaked out right before I went because I didn't understand so many things. And then I was working at this place and the woman who was the director sat me down. I happened to ask her and she was like, oh, I've never been to grad school, but I have friends who have, and I know this, and this. And she's the person that broke it down for me. Before that, I was like pissing myself because I didn't understand certain things of how to navigate this financially, how the whole thing worked, like all of it. And when you don't come from a family where people have done this already, what do you know?
Well, exactly.
Right.
And
so in that sense, I know this is not connected to like the language thing, but academia as a whole is a very alienating experience.
No, I think you're right.
Because of its connection to whiteness and white supremacy in particular.
I think you're absolutely right, but it's to be absolutely clear, is the point that you made at the outset. Like, we're not, I want it to be abundantly clear, we're not saying that education, if you happen to be white, you tend to do better in education. Statistically, first of all, that isn't the case. And second of all, it's not designed for that. What we're saying is it's designed, there's a larger margin of error if you happen to be white. But that doesn't mean you're going to do as well, God knows whatever else, or you're going to do any better, or it was just for you, or they made this for you to succeed, or anything like that. It's the same oppressive status quo system. It's the same system designed to weed out the people that ideologically don't fit into the mold that we like. And it just so happens that one of the criteria for ideologically fitting into the mold is meeting a certain melanin content appearance. Granted. So a few people already happen to fall into that category, and therefore we can kind of judge them a little bit differently. But that doesn't mean it's designed for you any more or less. It isn't like, you know, higher education is no more for a poor white person than it is for, well, it's even less for a poor black person, but still, it's not for poor people, generally speaking. It's not designed for that. So you're going to find this similar types of obstacles, or you're going to find obstacles nevertheless, in any case, because it wasn't really designed for kind of like, you know, for everybody. It's not the most liberal of experiences, but the way language manifests itself and the way it's manipulated, particularly in that environment. Like I've talked about this before, fam. I did my PhD. I get 4 years into my PhD. My supervisor tells me he feels like I need to take a course in English. a course in English.
Yeah.
Doing a PhD.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Oh well, my friend, the woman I just told you about, who's her family they're immigrants from Eastern Europe. A professor told her that this woman speaks English like a native speaker because she came here when she was like 7 or something. She was young. She speaks English perfectly. And a teacher told her that her writing was too street. She used the word street. And then she told her that she could tell from her writing that English was not her first language. How could you tell that? Because no one else can. And
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, like, and you see examples of this. Some of the examples that he gives in the chapter are things that I don't know if you've experienced in your life, but I certainly have in mine, because the difference between the difference between you and I is you always spoke the language.
Yeah.
I didn't. Like, I remember not speaking English.
Yeah.
I remember having to learn. I remember going to school and not knowing a single word of the language, being way too old to not know a word of the language. I remember being sick and not knowing how to explain that. Like, when I wanted to go and tell my teacher, the one time I threw up in primary school in my school was because I didn't know how to say I was going to throw up.
Oh.
I didn't know what to do. So I tried to hold it down and not throw up. And after a while, I just ran outside of the class and threw up in the corridor because I didn't want to throw up in the classroom, but I didn't know what to say. Like, how do I ask permission to go and do this? What's the word permission? I don't know any of this. So I just kind of like trying to hold back my throw up. But what I'm saying is this. There's examples like that in life. So one of the things that I went through because of that language barrier, and one of the things that persisted, was the fact that you notice doctors started speaking you to differently. And Fanon brings this up in his chapter. So if it's a black or a brown person who goes to see the doctor, they talk down to you. Where does it hurt? Does it hurt here? Is it your tummy? Like, don't say tummy, bro. Don't call it my tummy. I'm not 8. That's my stomach. Don't call it my tummy. What are you talking about? But like, they would consistently do that. I've seen doctors talk to my mother like that. The woman's 60 something. But they'll talk to my mother in that kind of patronizing. Where does it hurt? Do you feel okay? Tell me what the problem is.
Funny.
Like, in that really kind of like weird talk down way. And Fanon talks about it at length. The fact that when you talk to a black or a brown person, that's the attitude that the doctor will put on. And their explanation will be, well, they're simpler people, so you got to talk a simpler way for them. Like, you don't want to.
So I think here, so I've never had this experience because, like you said, I grew up speaking English. Both my parents speak English.
Racist.
British colonialism.
Yeah, no, facts.
British colonialism.
That's what it is.
No, but so we've always spoken English. But what's interesting is that I notice the way people in particular orient towards my mom when they look at her.
Yeah.
My mom is a brown lady. People assume she doesn't speak English, but she's British. She grew up in London.
Right.
She speaks English.
Very English.
She doesn't speak the fanciest English in terms of like her vocabulary. Yeah. So that is one thing I've noticed. So, my grandmother, Nani, Nani, my grandparents, they speak English, but it's like not the best English. And so for my mom, like in the house, they never spoke English to the kids. So my mom's experience, I would think, would be more similar to yours, right? Because my mom grew up in a home not speaking English, but grew up in the UK.
Yeah.
So obviously spoke English at school.
Yeah.
But there's certain vocabulary that my mom doesn't have that I do notice. Which is not the case for me because I grew up speaking English. I have 2 parents who speak English, and I grew up in an English-speaking country. So I have never had that experience. But it's interesting because people assume my mom doesn't speak English, and when they first orient towards her, it's like they're expect her to not speak English, and then she starts speaking English, and they're like,
"Oh wow,
what?" There's like confusion, and she speaks English with a British accent, no less.
No, facts, she really does.
And she just throws everybody off. I had a girl I used to work with. She met my mom one day, and then after the next day she was like, "Is your mom like Italian or something?" And I was like, "What?" But what was throwing her off was the accent. She
I see, yeah.
heard in America, people are stupid, so they don't know what a British accent is. So anything foreign is like, anything European is just confusing to them. So they hear a British accent and they're just like, "Is your mom?" I've had people ask me if my mom is white. My mom looks like a brown person. She does not look like a white person, not even in like her wildest dreams.
But so thrown were they by the accent that they're like they want to include. But see, this is the point. Then the language thing is working.
Yeah, right. So they want to include her into white, or they assume she's white because she has this accent. And I'm like, do you have eyes?
No, but then it's working. But this speaks to exactly what Fanon is saying.
Yeah.
So like when he talks about the power of language, or there's a particular kind of like the mastery of language affords remarkable power. That's the exact word. The mastery of language affords remarkable power. I think it's in page 9 or something like that. But that's exactly the idea. And I feel like every I don't want to use this language. I'm going to use Fanon's language. Every subject of colonialism, everybody who's been subject to colonialism, or whose families have been, or God knows whoever else, or who's descended from that, is familiar with that understanding that the more you master the language, the greater the power that you're afforded. So your mother will want to sound more and more British because it will give her more and more access to a greater degree of power than if she sounded like she was foreign.
And people assume certain things about her based on her accent. Not only like, okay, for example, I had a really stupid roommate who I had to kick out because she did gross things in my house. But this woman met my mom and then had the nerve to assume that my mom was educated. She was like comparing my family to hers. She met my mom like 2 times and she was like, well, my family is not middle class and educated. And I was just like, you heard a British accent and you assumed an education because you're stupid.
This is why I feel like I should be God in America. Like I got a British accent and I am educated. Like it's crazy.
The stupidity of Americans never ceases to amaze me. Like, can I just say, this is also why I used to hate telling people when I was growing up that I was born in London, because people just assumed all kind. It was weird.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell people because it's all these assumptions about you, and it's just a weird thing because you were born where? Because everybody was either born here or born in some third world country, and here I am. I was born in London.
The third world country thing.
It's f***ing true.
It's not with the swearing as well. What is wrong with you today?
Sorry.
That's the second one of the day.
I'm sorry.
And we're reading Fanon you through a third world country. It's crazy. Listen. So
I'm from a third world country. I can say that.
That's like being
and I'm
Bangladeshi
not talking about
saying,
London.
That's like being Bangladeshi and saying I can say all South Asians are dirty.
I mean, we do say that.
All right, I know you say that, but colonialism. That's why you say that. That's why 80% of Nigerians bleach their skin.
Yeah. Oh, we also do that. Apparently.
You also bleach your skin, yeah.
No, not me.
No, not you personally, but like Bangladeshis. It's 80%. Because
I am Fusha, so I don't have to.
Oh my God. It's
Fusha means light skin.
The numbers are crazy, fam. Like I couldn't believe when I heard it was that kind of
No, it's insane. It's insane. And it's global. It's actually a global phenomenon.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Regionally, like South Asia has some of the highest numbers of skin bleaching, but across Asia it's huge. Across Africa it's huge. Yeah.
I had a student who was studying Korean history for a period of time, and he found out that in the last since the 1970s, there's been this kind of growing trend of doing surgery in Korea to your eyes to make them look more European.
Right. Yeah, to look more like a white person.
So that they're doing surgery on their eyes to look more European. And my student's like, yo, why would they do that? I was like, bruh.
It's called imperialism and colonialism.
Do I need to tell you this? Go ask your parents, because he's Asian too. I was like, bro, ask your parents. Don't make me do this to you. Your parents are Asian. They know what happened. They were there. They know what happened. But so the point is, but look, nevertheless, I still have this issue. So I'm down with I mean, the chapter itself is only 20 pages long. So he doesn't say a huge amount with respect to the way this works. And we could talk about it all day long, but the thing that before we go, the thing that I wanted to kind of like wrap my head around is whether or not all of this is outdated. So Fanon refers to the black man almost exclusively, at least in this chapter, as part and parcel of what he thinks of as the colonized subject.
Yeah. And
that's true when we're talking about the Antilles and when we're talking about at the time that he was alive, in any case, also specifically the Caribbean and that's true. But I don't know whether or not speaking of the black man or the brown man, for that matter, as a colonized subject in 2021 is heard by black and brown people the same way. I don't know if they think he must be talking about someone else.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I read this, or when I think about hear the term the colonial subject, my mind goes back in time.
See, that's my point.
I don't think of myself as the colonial subject, but we all are.
I do.
We are, yeah.
I do think of myself as a colonial subject.
But also for you were a refugee. Your country got blown up by U.S. imperialism like twice in your lifetime. And so I think it's closer for you than for me, who like my grandparents and my parents, lived through this. And the crazy thing is, I have people in my family who have lived through British colonialism, independence, partition, independence again, imperialism. Like one lifetime, all these things.
But that's what I'm saying to you. So I don't know if I feel that way. You have cause to feel that way. But I don't know if the overwhelming majority of black and brown people in, say, London, Manchester, New York, Liverpool, wherever, man. But the majority of black and brown people today, like those under the age of 24, 25, I don't know if those people are thinking of themselves in the context of the colonized subject. And here's my problem with that. I'm not saying that anybody should or shouldn't think of themselves that way. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, that's not... I don't think that's a thing you can kind of like a judgment you can cast. I don't really know. But I will say this much. There's a consequence to that separation. And I think the consequence of that is actually worse than it looks.
What do you mean?
So I think...
What do you think is the consequence of that?
Disorientation.
Okay, how?
I think people don't know racism when they see it anymore. I think they can't tell when they're being patronized anymore. Let me give you an example. I'll just give you one example. So there was a dude, radio show I was listening to earlier on today, calls up the radio, says that he's a black man from South London. His name is John. Let's just call him John, whatever. But he says he's a black man from South London. And he wants to talk about Jacob Rees-Mogg. You know anything about Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Oh, the old racist white guy?
Yeah, with the glasses and it talks with he looks like a pencil.
He talks like that.
You have to only move your bottom jaw. If you only move your bottom jaw, you sound very British. It's like you're almost throwing up the words. You're not really saying anything. You're just regurgitating words, and then you say the British jaw. And the children. That. The point is, it's between that and Philip Sandwich. There's really not many options. But the point is, so that he starts talking about Jacob Rees-Mogg, and he says he felt as though Jacob Rees-Mogg's general demeanor, the way he carries himself, the way he talks to people, the way what have you, expresses a degree of class and authority. I don't know what's wrong with that. He can't hear the patronizing, fake. Nobody talks like that.
Right.
Nobody in the world talks like that. Like, that's not an accent from a region in this country. There is no region in this country where the entire population speaks like that. That's not a thing.
I thought the region was like Buckingham Palace.
No, yeah, exactly. That's the region. Those 3 streets around the palace.
Yeah.
No, they learn it. They go to school to learn to talk like that. They get taught that.
So that they can look down on everyone else and make everyone else.
You could talk down on everybody else. It was the old joke in Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. The old joke about how they call Grosvenor Square, they spelled it with an S, so it's Grosvenor Square, so that they can distinguish the intelligent from the unintelligent. Because those who don't know would call it Grosvenor, and those who were smart, who were like wealthy and lived there, would call it Grosvenor.
Yeah, it was the rich. It was to separate the rich from the not rich. Yeah.
That idea, right? Using language to
as if you needed at that time in Victorian England, as if you needed people to pronounce words to know who was rich.
You see what I'm saying? Crazy. There was Timothy the Chimney Sweep, and then there was the rest of you. It's crazy. But in any case, shoot, I forgot how I got here. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Philip Rees-Mogg.
Yes. So what I mean is the disorientation that comes as a consequence, because here comes this younger. I think he was a little younger than me, but this younger black man from South London and calls himself a business owner, whatever else, referring to Jacob Rees-Mogg's demeanor, attitude, and the way he carries himself as classy and representative of authority and so on and so forth. Well, in Jacob Rees-Mogg's mind, That's exactly what it's supposed to kind of give you the impression of. But one, it's false, and two, it's particularly supposed to be patronizing towards black and brown people.
Yeah.
Particularly. So for a black or brown person to hear it and look up to it, to have no sense of the history behind it, to have no sense of where that comes from, to have, and then it extended in my mind, right? Because I know that there's kids like not my age, but much younger than me. There's like a whole bunch of young kids out here who don't know the history of, say, the Tate Museum or whatever else, who don't know the history of where your university comes from, or who don't know the history of where certain words come from or why they're used the way they're used or what have you. So when someone is being racist towards you, using racist language towards you, or setting you up in a racist context, you have no idea. You just feel like something's wrong and you can't put your finger on it. And for me, that's what I mean by disorientation. You feel like something's off, but you don't know what's off. Because you've severed yourself from the colonial subject. That's that old black or brown person. That don't exist no more.
That's my grandmother. That's my great grandmother. That's them. That's not me. Yeah.
No, me, because I'm British or I'm American.
Well, that's the consequence of assimilation.
But the problem is, and this is my point.
I mean, this is exactly what he's talking about, though, here. When he's talking about the Antillian who goes to France and, becomes French and, hangs out with all these, or is around, all these French people and takes on the French language. It's like you lose this sense of like who you are. And that's a part of it. You lose this sense of reality of like knowing when somebody is being racist and not is a part of that. It's the consequence of assimilation. Yeah.
That's what I mean. And what I'm wondering is whether or not that's gone so far down the line. This has been the case for so long now. Remember, he was right. He died. He was born in 1925. He dies in, 1960? Because he was 36 when he died.
Yeah.
Oh
my God, he was my age when he died. That is so young.
I know. It's what kills me about all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But the point is that so he's talking about all of this stuff. Then he dies in 1960. That's 60 years ago now. That's 2 of his lifetimes ago. So you got to wonder whether or not what he's saying is now so outdated in the minds of the younger black and brown people who can nevertheless say things like the statistics I mentioned earlier on, that 85% of them, or whatever the numbers were, 90% of them feel like that racist language is used in schools and that they feel like they have to act differently. There was another statistic that said 70% of them felt like they had to change their hair or their appearance in order for them to be judged as professional. And we know that's the case. Like, we know that there are rules. There's they were talking about this at Pimlico Academy a little while ago. One of the schools in Pimlico in London over here were implementing rules about whether or not girls could wear hijabs and whether or not girls can wear their hair or certain afros or not afros and whatever else. Like,
can we just talk about this for a second? This is what kills me. You have what's the idiot's name? Boris Johnson, who looks like a disheveled mess. His hair is everywhere. And then, but this is fine. But black people whose hair the way the hair naturally goes out of the head, this is a problem.
But this is what I'm talking about. See the margin of error? That's treated as charming. You're treated as unprofessional.
Ugh.
That's charming. That's cute and funny and not the status quo, and he's kicking the usual habit of things. You're just unprofessional and weird. Do you see my point? It's that whole thing. And it's like, this to me is what this is the central concern that he's speaking to, the awareness in the mind of the black and white person, because it's happening live. What he wants to talk about is when it's happening live and direct, the awareness that this is happening, the awareness that I have to speak a certain way in order for you to address me a certain way, and that you think of me a certain way depending on how I speak. This is a live, ongoing thing, and according to these statistics that we read out a moment ago, it's still happening in schools and universities and jobs and what have yous, and everybody will tell you that they felt something like that. I'm just a little concerned as to whether or not we've so detached ourselves from the memory of what Frantz Fanon was talking about in the colonized subjects of old. The fact that he did, as you were saying at the outset, that he uses black as a political term that includes Libyan revolution, Algerian revolution, as well as it does Antillean revolution.
It's all colonial subjects. It includes all colonial subjects.
And the concern is whether or not we've moved ourselves so far away from what it was that he was talking about that we can no longer perceive the prejudice built into the languages and therefore disorient ourselves and can't figure out how to overcome this thing. You end up fixing the problem by 15 different ways that have nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, I do want to say, I think in the US, this question of being the colonial subject never existed in the same way
Thanks.
as it has in Europe or in former colonies
Yes.
of Europe, and because America doesn't have the same colonial history as Europe. Right?
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
I mean, don't get me wrong, there are American colonies. Puerto Rico is one still.
No,
to
of
this
course,
day.
but it's not the same thing as what
it's-
Belgium did in Africa, in the Congo, and what the French did for mad years.
Right.
It's not the
But
same.
it doesn't. There's something different about the way America didn't go into this mass colonial thing, right? Like the way Europe did. They didn't amass their wealth entirely from colonialism the way Europe did.
Yeah, they just did it a different way. It's a slightly different system. Yeah.
Well, in America, it's slavery. It's the history
Yes.
and the legacy of slavery, and also, genocide of the Native Americans, which we don't talk about enough in this country. But this is how America, like slavery of Africans in this country is to America what colonization is to Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that, but I feel like somebody watching this is going to feel like that's a controversial statement. Ooh. But yeah,
I don't care.
Listen, I agree with you.
And so I think the conversation here is not around colonialism, and it really has not been for, I think, a very long time.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because that doesn't exist,
Yeah.
The context that we view things in is more anti-blackness here, because slavery was a system of rooted in both anti-blackness and white supremacy, right? Like here, it was like they went together, they developed together, class developed along these lines as well here, So race functions in a different way in the United States, I think, than it does in
I will say
Europe.
this. Let me say this before we go, because we need to go. But let me say this.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware, but in your country, the crazy Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump, Matt Gaetz wing of the Republican Party have just declared a new caucus called the America First Caucus. And it's about protecting what they called the Anglo-Saxon culture of America. The Anglo-Saxon.
So literally what we have here is a caucus. This is in the Republican Party?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a caucus in one of the two major parties in the United States that is openly advocating for white supremacy. Openly. Okay. Who didn't see this coming? Of course.
Openly Anglo-Saxon.
And let me tell you something. The next election is going to be one of those. Their candidate is going to win.
Yeah, but they're going to run against Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm just telling you this now.
Or Meghan Markle.
Listen, polls suggest if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson runs for president, he wins in a landslide against whoever.
Well, if he's going up against one of these morons, I would vote for The Rock.
And then if he wins in a landslide, have you seen Idiocracy, the movie? You need to see Idiocracy. Because then America's, it's like, oh, okay, there you go. And I'm like, this can't be real, but it's real.
President of America! President Camacho! Shut up! Sit your monkey ass down.
In any case, look, we need to wrap this up because I need to eat.
The rest of the world is looking real nice right now.
I mean, the rest of the world's been looking over there like, wow, y'all are wilding out for a while. For a minute, fam. But in any case.
Look, I have a solution to this.
What, American racism?
World dictator right here.
Oh, yeah, no, the great,
we know. Run. Why not me?
The dictator elections. Me. I know. We got dictator elections.
I'm telling you, I'll fix everything. Take all the wealth, make
listen,
it equal.
What I'll do is we'll stick your manifesto in every single one of these hoodies when we pass them out. You know what I'm saying? So when we hand out these
good
hoodies,
idea.
Throw a manifesto
Propaganda.
in there. Vote for the
next
great
round
dictator.
Of hoodies will have my quote on the side. Take all the wealth and make it equal. That's my platform. Why are you laughing?
Because it's Tanzanomics is what that is. This Tanzanomics. You take everything.
Hey,
DJ.
Reagan had his crazy ass
I'm not saying
Reaganomics that destroyed everything and everyone.
I'm not saying it's worse.
So why not
Tanzanomics?
Take everything and make it equal.
Cool, man. Cool. Listen.
Yeah, the problem with this is America and Americans.
We're gonna get into why your economic plan is a bit squiffy next week. But
I don't
this
see
week,
squiffy.
I know you don't. But this week, we're gonna wrap it up here because I need to go eat. But in any case, look. So thank you everybody for being here as per usual. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for keeping up with us. This has been another one of these open seminars. I have been your boy Dr. E. That has been your girl, the Great Dictator Tanzim. We are gonna be back next week, same time, same place, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST. Bring you the education for a new generation, all of that good stuff. You already know what it is. Do your sign-ups, do your subscriptions, God knows whatever else. Next week is 52, so that's the 1 year special. We might do an extra long one. I don't know. See how I feel. I'll still be fasting, so we'll see what's up. But in any case, love, peace, blessings to everybody who's been watching and keeping along with us, staying up with us. And just so you know, if you haven't been vaxxed up, go get vaxxed up. Do all of that stuff. Be safe. Look after yourselves. You know what I'm saying? Do all the things
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. We like outside. All of the stuff you're still supposed to do, fam. We'll just do all of that. Can we not just be
the
stupid?
virus
do all of
is
that?
real. This is for the Americans who might be watching. The virus is real. It's not a conspiracy.
It's real.
Please get the vaccine.
Anybody who can harness the entire population and make them all do something doesn't need a conspiracy to take control. They have control already.
Our government already controls us.
They won already. They're not trying to get control.
Also, this is global. The whole world does not care enough about America to band together just to get us to take a vaccine that's going to depopulate.
No, we don't care.
Like,
we really don't care. No, we really don't care. I guarantee if y'all asked, you know how America feels about Florida? The rest of the world feels about you guys that way. Swear to God.
Oh my God, we're the Florida of the world.
I swear to God. Swear to God.
Okay,
you know how y'all
hurt my heart.
I know. You know how y'all feel like if Florida just disappeared, you guys wouldn't mind too much? Yeah, I swear to God. The rest of the world's looking at America like, if you guys just, I don't know that we really care. But look, that's just me. I'm pissing off mad Americans now.
The Florida of the world.
Can we
stop being the Florida of the world? Oof.
America, can we not do this? Look, in any case, the point is, so vax up if you can get vaxxed up.
Canada wants to just cut us off. You remember that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he saws off Florida and it flies away?
Yeah.
It goes away. That's what Canada wants to do to us. They're like, can we just like...
Facts. And if they do it, Drake will come up with a new Canadian national anthem. It'll be great. With the greatest country on earth.
Oh my God.
But the point is, vax up, stay safe, look after yourselves. Please look after your loved ones, your old people, whatever else. Everybody, just do everything, do the right things. This is all real. This is not a joke. And in case anybody forgot, Black lives been matter, Black lives still matter, Black lives will matter. That's just what it is over here. That's always the way it's going to be over here. If you guys, anybody doesn't agree, we'll see you no time, never. Peace. One, don't need to talk to you. But in the meantime,
take all the wealth and make it equal.
Take all your wealth and make it equal. We'll see you guys next week. Peace, love, blessings, light, and all that kind of stuff. All that good stuff.
Bye. Thank you, guys.